Hey there, Aries. So this is the start of your ascendant forecast for the week ahead from the 13th to 19th of October 2025. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Louisa. Hello. These are Western tropical whole sign forecasts, and my way of doing them is to hopefully introduce you to the planetary picture in such a way that it helps you unfold and unravel who you are at a greater level. You know, my whole aim here is to help people fall in love with themselves more through astrology. So let's see how this goes. Now, this is an interesting week because we've got Venus going, talking of love, we've got Venus going into the sign of Libra. That's her own sign. So she's very, very beneficial right now. She feels, you know, she's there to give you some poise and grace in your seventh house, because that's where she's moving into. There's also Pluto going direct on the 14th, and that's going to be speeding things up. It's going to be turbocharging all those areas of your relationships in terms of friendships, you know, networks and things like that. Things are going to get just that bit faster and bit more interesting. There's some great things, like your ruling planet Mars is going great guns. He's in a conjunction between Mercury and himself, and he's in a series of trines that are fabulous. To me, what this is an example of you really cooking on gas right now. It just feels like things are starting to go in your direction. Not bad, right? Now, there's a couple of things that I think are the sticking points in this week ahead. And so I'm going to be paying a bit of attention to those. You know, the title of this show is The More We Ache for Love, the More We Fear Being Seen. It's an interesting one because, you know, Aries ascendants don't tend to fear being seen. They don't tend to fear much, in fact. So it's an interesting title, but it's coming from the Venus in an opposition to Neptune. Now, Neptune right now is right at the start of your chart in the sign of Aries. And you will most likely have felt some really big shifts in your personality. So Neptune in your first house in the sign of Aries can be a time when people start to go into doubt a little bit. You know, they feel a whole range of things, including this real sort of intense spirituality, and also this sense of things are changing. The way you're sensing things right now it just feels so much more sensitive. And you know, you might not be the sort of hardcore Aries energy that you were maybe told you were, or felt or identified in the past. So there is this feeling of a changing identity. Now, with Venus in opposition to Neptune, it's bringing up areas in your life where you felt disappointed in love. Anywhere where you felt like you were all in and somebody wasn't, or where they were all in and it was too much for you. It's like the imbalance between you being yourself and being protected in a relationship, or you feeling very vulnerable in a relationship. You've also got Chiron in the first house that's been there since 2018. So again, there's been some changes and a feeling of protectiveness about yourself. And so Neptune coming in will have, I don't know, made you more sensitive to that. So yeah, there's these two oppositions. I'm going to talk more about them as I bring up the charts. But before I do that, I just want to bring my slides up and the big question, and also thank everyone that supports this channel. If you're one of them, thank you so much. Whether you've supported me historically or on a monthly basis or through my membership, I just really owe you so much, and I'm so grateful. So thank you very much. So Aries, this is my big question. If I drop the story of being the victim or the hero, what healing truth might emerge? Now, this might be, you know, I'm imagining the Aries eye roll, you know, like, oh God, why going into the healing? But the healing is about the Chiron opposition taking place in your first house. You know, this is really about clearing up anywhere where you're feeling uncomfortable, in relationship with other people, in terms of being seen or not being seen properly. Do you feel like people see you as you are? Do you feel like people understand who you are? And anywhere where you've been playing the victim, it's unlikely, or playing the hero, highly likely. Wherever these stories are playing out, they're also stories that disconnect us from other people. Whether you're doing the saving of others as the hero and savior, or you're playing the victim where you might need saving and need a bit of TLC, need a bit of looking after. You know, each of those scenarios, it brings people to you, but it doesn't bring them as equals. It doesn't bring them with balance. It brings people into your life with a role to match the role that you're playing. And I would argue that, you know, if you felt like a victim in the past, and I'm pretty sure most of us have, or the hero in the past, pretty sure, again, most of us have felt like a hero at some point, you know, all the time we hold on to that story and it's kind of collected in our sort of electromagnetic field, people pick up on it. And it might be one of the reasons why it's stopping people from connecting, or why you're not connecting in a way that feels really equal, where it feels like you're on an equal footing, an equal standing, and where you feel like you don't have to protect yourself or protect another. And so this is the question, you know, what else is possible when these stories get dropped? So let's have a look at how this shows up in your chart. So this is the chart from the 13th, and this is the chart right at the end of the week. And you'll see that Venus is in the 7th house, the sun's in the 7th house at the end of the week. You've also got the moon in the 7th house. And this is all preparation, by the way, for the new moon on the 21st in next week's forecasts, because, you know, this new moon is going to be, I think, an indication or like a placeholder for a new relationship energy. And of course, you know, like the new moons in the 7th house, they are the best new moons we can have, I think, you know, because they are showing us this potential new start, this new reframing of your existing relationships, or the chance to meet somebody really great if you're single and looking for somebody. The new moons are always signaling where there is a new related and loving situation coming up. Now, with Neptune also in the 1st house, in opposition, yeah, and you can see here Neptune and Chiron both in the 1st house. I also should say, if when you're looking at your chart, if you've got both Aries and Taurus in your 1st house, then you're using a Placidus house, you know, you're using a Placidus house model. I would say it's also beneficial to listen to the Taurus reading too, because that will also relate. So yeah, this is about the identity and also about the body, and also how we might dress, how we might seem, you know, at first response, you know, when people first look at you, what do they get from you? Now with Neptune in the 1st house currently, right in the early days of it, to me, this is an indication that you've got this new sensitivity coming in. Now, this can be a real sensitivity to your environment. Some people experience this physically, you know, they become allergic to things around them in their environment, or they might struggle with electromagnetic stress and, you know, that sort of foggy feeling, you know, when you're in the wrong kind of energy, like a sick building, you know, that sick building syndrome kind of thing. It can also bring along a little bit of tiredness, but really what I see this as being related to is this confusion about your identity. Wherever Neptune goes, it brings up an idea about the idealized persona or the idealized situation, but then the confusion that, you know, the idealized version doesn't match the reality. And so there's this sort of confusion. You're living in the gap between your dream and your reality. And that can be tiring, that can be exhausting, and it can really bring up some, I guess, a feeling that you don't recognize yourself. Now with Chiron in the 1st house as well, this can also bring it up feelings where you might have got tired in yourself, or you might have not felt strong enough to, I guess, mark your boundaries, you know, and our very physical boundaries is our skin, you know, and so we often find, you know, with Neptune and Chiron in this part of the chart, that our health can be affected. Now, in opposition to the sun and also in opposition to Venus, you might find that you're getting suddenly tired in this week ahead, that you suddenly feel like you're caught with your boundaries down, like people can come in and it's like you have no way of blocking them, blocking their questions, blocking their intrusions. You might feel really ill at ease. And so one of the things I would recommend during this time, especially on the 14th and especially on the 17th, is to, if you are feeling awkward or ill at ease with anything, it's just find a way to be by yourself, or find a way to boost your sense of self. and bring yourself back into a feeling of certainty. The more you can do that, the easier it will be. Now, at the same time, you might be experiencing the people around you, this represented by Venus and the Sun. They might be trying to connect with you a lot. And I think I mentioned this last week, in fact, in the Aries forecast. It feels like the people around you are really trying to get your attention. They're being lovely, they're being good looking, they're wanting to connect, they're like shining light into your life somehow. And to me, it just looks like it's a little bit intrusive. And it's not intrusive at any other time, but given that the Sun is in opposition to Chiron and Venus is in opposition to Neptune, it just feels like under the light and under the energy of being seen fully by people who are really ready to see you, it feels really uncomfortable. So you might choose to ask yourself, where have I felt self-rejection? Where have I felt awkward in my body? Where have I felt awkward in my appearance? Where have I not enjoyed being me? Because right now it just feels like you're being celebrated for being you. And of course, if that's difficult, that's difficult. I remember many years ago, coming up to one of my birthdays, I was in a deep, deep depression, and I just didn't want anyone to celebrate my birthday. I saw it coming. I felt so crappy in myself, and I regret this now. But I said to my family, like, please don't send me cards. Please don't communicate with me on my birthday. I just don't want to be celebrated. And it's hard, isn't it? Like when you've got that level of, do I say self-hatred or a level of just not feeling right in yourself? And so I think all that's needed is to give it a little bit of time if you are feeling like that, and recognize that the Sun is going to move out of this opposition with Chiron. Venus is going to move out of this energy with Neptune. And as they move away, you'll feel instantly better. And you'll feel much more ready to receive love and affection from people at a more reciprocal level. So it just is likely to feel extreme on the 14th and the 17th, but in between, you should feel fine. Now, here's what is working really beautifully for you, and that is the Mars trine North Node. So that's exact in the middle of the week. The North Node is in the 12th house. Your Mars is in the 8th house. Remember, wherever Mars goes, he's ready to sort of dive in and go to a deeper level. Right now he's in the 8th house, which is showing a lot of self-learning. To me, it just feels like you're really on what feels like a self-development program that you've kind of done yourself. Anywhere where you felt a little bit stuck or a little bit resistance, right now your Mars energy is kind of flushing it out. It's really encouraging you to move further than you've moved before. And now that Mercury's coming into an alignment with Mars throughout this whole week, you can see it here right at the end of the week, they're really close together. It feels like you're able to talk about the things that have been really kept hidden for so long, in that sort of really strongly guarded privacy that you maintain. And so this is really strong. Now, this is also feeding back to Jupiter in the 4th house. Again, it feels like there's a lot of support around you if you can bear to be supported. Don't be afraid to open up to somebody that feels open-hearted at home. But again, you find the times when you feel most likely to be happy with that. But this particular trine, this grand trine in the water signs, to me, it's giving you the ability to recode your emotions at a really tender level. This is helping you to see your childhood differently, your existing family members differently, and it's also encouraging you to change some of your inner beliefs. Anywhere, we don't ever question about upgrading our computer's operating system. We just think, okay, yeah, we need to sort it out, we need to clean it up, and we just do that without questioning it. But, we also have our own operating systems. And to me, this is an indication that you've got this opportunity to really have a clean sweep. Now, something else I really like about this time as well, and that is, again, and I hate to sort of break it to you, but there's a lot of people that want to support you right now. In fact, there's some powerful friends and friends of friends in networks. There's also the ability to be your quirky self in your local community. And again, your loved ones. To me, as I'm looking at this, I just think whatever's on your mind that's stopping you from connecting, because it's difficult. I think when you feel ready to connect at a deeper level, I just think there's going to be people who are just really, really rejoicing and really happy. So going back to the original question, which is, if you drop the story of being the victim or hero, what healing truth might emerge? Like if you stop trying to save or be saved, or maybe save others so you don't have to save yourself. I don't know what it is. But if you were to come out of this imbalance, I think that's what it is. Not so much about victimhood or heroics. I actually think it's more about getting the balance between you being you and them being them. And that feeling that happens, when people come into relationships and they come into a bit of a merge, the urge to merge. And actually, that's probably what's going on here. Wherever Neptune goes, he creates this urge to merge at some level. And in the sign of Aries, in your first house, I think that could be quite uncomfortable. I think you sense the perception that you could merge with another person, and yet it just feels like, no, you do you, I'll do me. So I actually think the possibility here is that you can have much more fulfilling relationships with people if you allow somebody in just that little bit more. So I think that's where I'm going to leave this today. I hope that was helpful for you. And if you want more, then have a look at my membership options. I do a Monday to Friday forecast for all of my members. And I also do a relationship and connections forecast, and also a career, money and ambition forecast for all 12 signs every week. So there's a lot there. Or maybe you'd like me to support you. You'd like to have a chat, and we'll dynamically chat about your chart together. All you need to do is check out the links below and also on my channel page. You can just book directly into my diary. It's really quite simple. So I'm going to leave that there. Have a great week ahead. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully we'll connect again real soon. Bye for now.